Now, here is one translational pitfall. Just an added Herr at the end of the sentence is something a servant would say to his master. Don't do it. Hi, my name is Daniel. Today we are going to talk about how and when to use polite speech in German with a focus on the word Sie. Not long ago, I was sitting at a pier with a friend of mine. It was evening, lots of young people around. Next to us sat a young couple, maybe 20, 22 years old. I opened my beer with a small tool, and all of a sudden the young guy next to me asked, "Entschuldigung, könnten Sie mir bitte mein Getränk öffnen?" and points to his bottle. He, very politely, asked me to open his beverage, since we have crown caps on lots of bottles in Germany, and he didn't have anything with him to open his. I was a little bit upset then. Not because he asked, but because of how he asked me. I will come back to that later. If you want to be taken seriously in Germany, you must know when and how to be polite. Next to introducing yourself with your name, and before 2020 using a handshake, there is a certain way to address someone. But don't worry. If it is clear you're just learning the language, or if you are a small child, it is not that big of a deal if you use it incorrectly. But to warn you, in Germany you do come across as rude if you use du instead of Sie, depending on the situation. What is du and Sie? In French, you have tu and vous. In Russian, you have ti and vui. In Dutch, you have jij and u. In English, this is both translated as you, but next to adding please and using would, could, you add a sir or miss to make it polite. In German, you cannot do that, but there are ways you can implement those words. I will come back to that later, because it is not as relevant as the Sie. Sie is a polite you. As a rule of thumb, you use it when you talk to adult strangers. Whether you are at the restaurant or at the doctor's, you address everyone there with Sie. If you want to ask a stranger for the way, Sie is a good choice. If it is not a child that you're asking, then you use du. Here is an example for these two. Excuse me, do you know where the cinema is? Entschuldigen Sie, wissen Sie, wo das Kino ist? Entschuldigen Sie, wissen Sie, wo das Kino ist? Or, Entschuldigung, weißt du, wo das Kino ist? Entschuldigung, weißt du, wo das Kino ist? Du is used with children, friends and family, and people you know on a first-name basis. Or, if you are like 18 years old, with people from your age. Can you switch from Sie to du? Yes, but if you are unsure what to use with an adult, Sie is a good start. As a rule, most of the time, the older person has to offer the du to the younger person. If you meet your parents-in-law for the first time, and you start with Sie, the first thing they're probably going to do is offer you the du, if your partner didn't badmouth you too much beforehand. This could sound like this. You can call me Peter. Du kannst mich Peter nennen. Or, we can say you. Wir können gerne du sagen. This one doesn't really make sense in English. You is alright. Du ist in Ordnung. This offer is permanent. You've got an achievement unlocked. It doesn't switch back. As an opener, if you want to politely ask someone a question, excuse me, Entschuldigung, Entschuldigung, or Entschuldigen Sie, which is more polite. Adding a please in the sentence is bitte, bitte. Excuse me, could you repeat that please? Entschuldigung, könnten Sie das bitte wiederholen? Entschuldigung, könnten Sie das bitte wiederholen? One small addition to confuse you even more. I'm not sure how well acquainted you are with the cases in German. The dative case switches the polite word Sie, which I've been talking about here, to Ihnen. Ihnen. Both are you in English. The polite How can I help you? Wie kann ich Ihnen helfen? Wie kann ich Ihnen helfen? You is in the dative case here. You ask for the dative case with wem. Wem, which is who. Who can I help? You. So you is Ihnen, because it's dative. But, do you need help? Brauchen Sie Hilfe? Brauchen Sie Hilfe? Here, you is in the nominative case, so it is not changed. You ask for the nominative case with wer oder was, who or what. So you stays Sie here. I have to admit, it is kind of hard that 3 different question words in German are translated as who in English. But this is for another lesson. Should you hear the polite word Sie for the first time, I will just include for you that the personal pronoun your, like what's your name, has 3 forms in German depending on the gender of the object. Male, female, neutral. Ihren, ihre, ihr. All written with a capital I. I need your broomstick. Ich brauche Ihren Besen, as a polite question. I need your help. Ich brauche Ihre Hilfe. I need your car. Ich brauche Ihr Auto. If this whole concept of du and sie is new to you, please let that sink in. I'm going to talk about nuances now and wrap it up by explaining the words Mr. and Lady in German. Should you already be a little confused by now, I suggest you return to the following part a little bit later. Now, there is a certain gray area where both du and sie is possible with young people like 16 or 20 years old. It's really dependent on your age, their age, and the situation you are in. If you are at a rock festival, you shouldn't need to use the polite sie with other festival goers unless they are maybe really old. Everyone wants to feel young at these events. If your waiter at a hip restaurant is starting out with du, you can reply in the same way, unless you feel uncomfortable and ask him to speak politely with you. Now, back to the introduction story, the one where the young guy used sie with me at the pier. He wasn't wrong, you know. He was genuinely being polite. Thing is, in this gray area, for me, in a situation it felt like du would have been the appropriate choice, and being called sie by a younger person can make you feel old. And this is not a joke, this is serious. My friend replied to him, "Wait, did you just call him sie?" Of course I smiled and helped him with his drink, but if a person who is about 25, 30, 35 years old is called sie by a younger person in a casual situation, it makes you feel old. I've heard this multiple times from friends and colleagues, where they were getting really upset by being called sie from younger people. Upset, telling me not in the situation, of course. No joke. This is really no joke. Let me also come back to the words like Sir, Mr., Miss, Ma'am, Lady in German. They exist. They are just used differently. Mr. would be Herr. Herr. An example. Suppose your last name is Müller, which is Miller in English. Mr. Müller, what can I do for you? Herr Müller, was kann ich für Sie tun? Herr Müller, was kann ich für Sie tun? Or if someone wants to call you to his desk but doesn't know your name. The Mister in the red pullover, please. Der Herr mit dem roten Pullover, bitte. Der Herr mit dem roten Pullover, bitte. Now, here is one translational pitfall. Sounds the same, but it isn't. What can I do for you, sir? Was kann ich für Sie tun, Herr? This is not a good idea. I repeat, not good. Just an added Herr at the end of the sentence is something a servant would say to his master. Don't do it. An added Herr can also be translated as Lord, meaning God. What should I do, Lord? Was soll ich tun, Herr? Was soll ich tun, Herr? There is a usable variation though, which again needs context and a fitting situation. If you are at an expensive restaurant and the waiter tells you, "Please be seated, sir." Bitte setzen Sie sich, mein Herr. Bitte setzen Sie sich, mein Herr. Mein Herr. Not just Herr. Really important difference. Or he points to the chair and says, "Der Herr." Again, this is very situational. It is rarely used and sounds very noble and classy. It can actually be used ironically when you make dinner for your friends, point them to the table and say, "Der Herr," die Dame, as if you are in a classy restaurant. You will probably earn a genuine smile for this. In German, there is also no word to address a married or unmarried woman like Miss or Mrs. In fact, if you call a certain man or woman on the street, you would just say, "Entschuldigung," or "Hallo." Wait for them to turn around and make eye contact. Expressions like, "Hey mister," or "Excuse me lady," don't exist. They don't. Miss or lady would be Dame, Dame, or Frau, Frau, depending on when it is used. Miss Müller, what can I do for you? Frau Müller, was kann ich für Sie tun? Frau Müller, was kann ich für Sie tun? Frau is used for married and unmarried women. The Mrs. with the red pullover, please. Die Dame mit dem roten Pullover, bitte. Die Dame mit dem roten Pullover, bitte. Please be seated, ma'am. Bitte setzen Sie sich, meine Dame. Meine Dame is more like my lady, and again, very classy. Pitfall coming up. Just an added Frau at the end of the sentence is pretty much an insult, if not said in an obviously ironic way with good friends. What do you want to eat, miss? Was wollen Sie essen, Frau? Or worse, was willst du essen, Frau? Is not the correct translation. It translates as, what do you want to eat, woman? Do not use that in a serious conversation unless you really want to provoke something nasty. The correct translation would be, was wollen Sie essen? Or, was möchten Sie essen? To sum it up, don't just add Herr, Frau, or Dame at the end of the sentence. Nothing good will come of it. In older texts of films, you may have encountered the word Fräulein. It is not used anymore in a serious context, but again, there is an exception. If you have a small child, a girl, and she has done something she shouldn't have, this word is sometimes used to call her out on her mistake. Well, wasn't that easy? German, right? What a simple language. So again, nuances, situation, and word choice are important. But if you are unsure, just explain that you are learning German and ask for the appropriate way to express yourself. Or if you have said something and are uncertain, follow it up with, war das richtig? Was that correct? War das richtig? Everybody will be happy to help you out. You'll get there eventually, I'm sure. Thanks for watching, and if you like what you saw, please support me by subscribing to my channel. It would mean a lot to me. Dankeschön und tschüssi.